Hidden areas or objects in video games, called Easter eggs, have been around for almost as long as video games themselves. Game programmers have a variety of motives for including them, from recognition to simply messing with gamers, but they're generally found fairly quickly. Except in cases like these, which took gamers years, and in some cases decades to find. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell: Double Agent was released to multiple platforms in 2006. Strangely, two different versions of the game were released from two different subsidiaries of game developer Ubisoft, one for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and another for the later generation PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. The games had different engines and different versions of roughly the same plot. The Xbox version featured a secret mission slipped in by a Ubisoft Montreal level designer. In the guard room near the end of the prison A level, a gold coin can be found by shooting open an unmarked locker. Inserting this coin into a vending machine found earlier in the level initiates the most bizarre mission in Splinter Cell history, as the machine dispenses a baby seal named Muffin, who thanks you for freeing it and asks for some food. A nearby cold storage area helpfully contains a box marked seal food, and giving this food to Muffin will send you off on a quest to find the rest of his brothers, who all need a series of odd favors in exchange for secrets about the game. Rescuing all of the seals and completing all of their instructions leads you to a cutscene in which it's revealed that the seals are of course aliens, who ascend to the skies after telling you they'll never forget the help they got from the Splinter Seals. This insanely cute mission wasn't discovered until 2010, 4 years after the game's release. Batman: Arkham Asylum is generally considered to be among the best superhero games of all time. Its innovative combat system and mix of stealth and combat gameplay, along with the chance for gamers to play as the Dark Knight, made the game a huge success and spawned several sequels. Batman: Arkham City, released in 2011, was praised for being an improvement upon a near-perfect game. The sequel contained several Easter eggs, but one in particular took a little ingenuity and 3 years to find. The villain Calendar Man spends the entire game sitting in a cell and has a lot of unique dialogue. But in 2014, a video was posted to YouTube showing the villain reciting dialogue that fans had not heard before. Since there had been no game update, gamers concluded that it had to be hidden within the game itself. Fans guessed that the calendar-themed villain's secret dialogue might be accessed by setting the console to a specific date, and trial and error unlocked the secret date of December 13th, 2004, the day the developer Rocksteady Studios was founded. It's likely that the video that gave the first clue was posted by a member of the Rocksteady team, frustrated that nobody had yet discovered the game's final secret. The third entry in the Metal Gear Solid series was released in 2004 for the PlayStation 2 console. Widely considered to be among the very best video games ever made, its final boss battle is an epic confrontation between protagonist Solid Snake and the End, a legendary sniper who is over 100 years old. Snake must use every weapon, trick, and technique in his arsenal to beat the boss and finish the game, unless he uses one of two alternate methods. Earlier in the game, the End is seen boarding a helicopter in the distance. If the player has obtained a sniper rifle by this time, it is possible, although very difficult, to zero in and get a kill shot, eliminating the boss and skipping the final battle. This is pretty tricky, but there's an easier way to defeat the boss without even firing a shot. As soon as the final battle begins, the player must save the game and set the date on their console forward 1 year. When the game is resumed, Snake will find that his elderly enemy has died of old age. Maybe not exactly the way Snake wanted to win, but if you're going to take advantage of this Easter egg, make sure you get the date right. Setting it only a week forward will result in Snake falling asleep during the battle and being imprisoned. This relatively simple Easter egg took fans 4 years to uncover. One of the most popular games released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out has frustrated gamers for decades. The opponents you face in this boxing game steadily increase in difficulty, and the later ones require absolutely perfect timing to dodge their attacks and deliver your own knockout blow. One of these later characters, Bald Bull, features a signature bull charge move that is extremely tough to defend against. The player has to unleash a gut punch at just the right moment, but for a very long time, gamers were unaware that the game itself gives you a clue as to when that moment is. When Bald Bull begins his charge, keep your eye on the crowd in the background. You'll see a camera flash from one of the spectators near the front row on the right, and that's your cue to throw your punch. If properly timed, Bald Bull will be down for the count. Although the flash is tough to notice, it's still amazing to think that it took Nintendo's dedicated base of gamers nearly 30 years to spot this Easter egg. Wave Race Blue Storm is a jet ski racing game released for the Nintendo GameCube in 2001. Although not exactly considered a classic, the game was praised for its water effects and physics that were unmatched in racing games at the time. Perhaps it's because the game came and went relatively unnoticed in North America that gamers long overlooked an Easter egg that may make it quite a bit more fun to play, depending on how high your self-esteem is. To access it, you must go to the game's audio options and enter a modified version of the famous Konami code. Then back out and start the race using the default character. The game's announcer, who ordinarily offers encouraging comments and helpful messages, will now be replaced by a sarcastic, abusive version who will hurl insults at the player throughout the game. The presence of a complete alternative voice track is a pretty big Easter egg, but it took the gaming community 9 years to catch on. Since then, it has become one of the more appreciated video game Easter eggs for its ingenuity and humor, and also for giving gamers someone to helpfully insult their gameplay when their friends can't make it over. One of the most popular and acclaimed games ever, Grand Theft Auto V also has its share of secrets. One of its biggest was discovered in 2016, 3 years after the game's release, when the locations of secret peyote plants were discovered within the code for the game, only spawning at certain times in certain conditions. Players had to eat these plants in order to play as Bigfoot, but that was really only half of the secret. Triggering Bigfoot's roar in certain areas will get a roar in response from a mysterious, elusive beast that must be tracked down. This beast is incredibly difficult to even lay eyes on, but once found, it reveals itself to be none other than Teen Wolf. The player, as Bigfoot, must then take on the beloved Michael J. Fox character in a life-or-death struggle that is every bit as hilarious as it sounds. If Teen Wolf is defeated, the player is rewarded with its skin, which can be used to play as the character in the game's director mode. The Atari 400 was the first home computer produced by the video game giant in the early 80s. Its port of the arcade classic Donkey Kong is considered to be one of the best home ports of the game, despite the fact that programmer Landon Dyer coded it with practically no help or even reference code to go on. Like many early game programmers did, Dyer slipped a hidden signature into the game, but created conditions so specific for finding it that nobody had a clue it was there until he told them it was. Over 25 years later, Dyer himself couldn't even remember exactly how to access the Easter egg, but dedicated gamers found it by examining the game's code. First, you must play a game, setting a new high score of either 37,000, 73,000, or 77,000 points. Then you must kill off all of your remaining lives, making sure that your last death is by falling. Press the option button 3 times, then wait for the game to cycle through to its title screen. After Kong jumps across the screen, the letters LMD appear, the programmer's initials. Perhaps it's a little underwhelming, but the steps required to find this Easter egg are incredibly random, and the Atari 400 was not exactly the most popular computer of its time. Considering that even the programmer couldn't remember how to find it, it's amazing that this secret was ever unearthed. Super Smash Bros. Melee, released for the GameCube in 2001, brought Nintendo's whimsical cast of characters into the world of fighting games. Its unorthodox and fast-paced combat system made it an instant success, and it still enjoys a wide fan base today, being among the more popular fighting games among tournament players. The final boss of the game's single-player mode is the Master Hand, a gigantic white glove that is nearly unbeatable and deals devastating attacks. It took gamers 9 years to discover that due to a glitch in the game's programming, the Master Hand is actually a playable character. In essence, the player must advance the game's menus to a stage selection screen without selecting a character. This is done by connecting the controller to port 3 and placing your cursor over the name selection field without first choosing a character. Pressing and holding A and B, then quickly releasing and pressing A again at just the right time will advance the game to the stage selection menu. Starting the game in this fashion causes it to default to the first character stored in memory, which happens to be the Master Hand. Its entire moveset are available, and since it has no health meter, it cannot be beaten. Few games have had as great an influence on modern first-person shooters than 1997's GoldenEye 007. Its multiplayer mode, added in by the game's developers as an afterthought, spawned countless imitators and is still appreciated on its own merits by fans of the genre today. 6 years after the game's release, fans discovered code that seemed to refer to an unused portion of the game. Using a Game Shark, they were able to use this code to discover one of the spookiest secret areas in all of gaming. At the end of the first level, an island can be spotted far in the distance across the ocean. The game's programmers originally intended for a boat to be docked here that you could use to access this island, but the area was cut from the game. Rather than deleting the island, however, they simply deleted the boat. Using the Game Shark's no-clip mode will allow you to simply walk over the water to reach the Citadel, a ghost of a compound with abandoned turrets, blank gray walls, and floors that seem to disappear. Occasionally, ghostly enemies will pop in and out of existence, running around in tortured circles and ignoring your gunfire. The level is utter madness, and since its discovery has become something of an urban legend among the gaming community. Trials Evolution is a 2012 motorcycle racing game, not the sort of game one would ever think to look for Easter eggs in. Not only does the game have a secret, it may be the single most elaborate secret ever devised by a game developer. A series of wooden planks found in the game contain lettering that spells out a jumbled code when put together. When deciphered, it revealed instructions for performing an in-game maneuver that unlocked a hidden song. This song must be recorded and fed into a spectral analyzer to reveal hidden Morse code. This code led to a website, where in 2013 a strange series of images began to be published daily. The images formed yet another cipher, which had to be decoded and entered into a box on the website. This unlocks 4 coordinates for 4 physical locations: in Sydney, Australia, Bath in the United Kingdom, Helsinki, Finland, and San Francisco in the US. Dedicated gamers found ornate wooden boxes hidden in these locations containing keys, as well as other unique items. Metal plaques found in each box contained an inscription stating that one of the keys will open a box underneath the Eiffel Tower in the year 2113. While this riddle surprisingly only took just over a year to unlock, the developers obviously have a much longer game in mind. Nobody will truly know what secrets are held by Trials Evolution for almost 100 years.